Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to EUWChallenger Series number 13, Day 4 of the Grand Finals of Copenhagen Wolves and Meet Your Makers. This is the second game of the best of 5 we have today. I am Pulse, I'm joined by Metters.
Hey Pulse, hey viewers, how is it going? I'm hoping this game is going to be a bit closer. I'm always rooting for the underdog, and in that case it has to be Meet Your Makers after that first game performance and the fact that they are currently 1-0 down. However, Pulse, they are now the first pick and first ban. So, how do you think they're going to be going into this second game? They've got rid of Kassadin, which is smart against Kautard, was very, very instrumental in that first game win. Do you think they should mix up on the compositions maybe?
They could roll the same thing. There will probably be counter bans coming out. In fact, Atrox is being banned out. Lee Sin, of course, is going to be against Shuck. Who else? Kassadin now comes in against Kautard. So they're actually making sure that Copenhagen will swap up the team composition. They just don't want to try and counterplay that. And honestly, that makes a lot of sense. Fizz comes out, aimed at Charu. Again, another valuable ban out. And first pickup will immediately be fresh locked in by Meet Your Makers.
Yes, and Libic plays a brilliant Thresh. We've already seen it before at the EUWChallenger series yesterday, and that's what I'm talking about. When you're first pick, first ban, you can leave these staple picks for your team to just lock in first, their comfort picks. Libic's going to be very happy with this, so is Meet Your Makers as a whole. They always go for the Thresh. They're going to probably go for Corki. I can't see yet if Makler's going for it or not. Okay, now he started to hover over it. And it's that composition again that we're speaking about, a duo at the bot lane. You land the death sentence, and suddenly there is just so much armor shred, so much burst damage on whoever you land it onto. So, very happy times to Meet Your Makers.
Something I want to mention is I was talking to the teams before this game, and before Makata was subbed out because of injury, he was the shot caller along with Libic. So the jungler and also the support, which is very typical for most teams. And now it's Charu and Naga, so completely different players. So not only would the calls be different, but I wouldn't say they'll be off point, it will just mean the different calls made at different times from a different perspective, because Charu will be in the mid lane, Naga will be in the jungle. It's not a case of where it will be jungle and support. So that's very interesting, a lot of food for thought, honestly, Metters. But either way, looking towards the picks, we will have Gragas along with Corki picked out for Meet Your Makers, and now they are hovering over a potential Vladimir pickup along with Caitlyn. I will confirm if that's locked in. Caitlyn has been locked in. Now looking towards the Zyra. I know Vladimir is a staple champion of one of these players. I believe it's Naga, which is on the opposite team. I believe that's correct, and it will be Zyra locked in along with Caitlyn.
Yes, Reckless's Caitlyn is a farming bot, basically. He is going to be hitting 120 CS at 12 minutes. He's going to be just nailing it every single minute his CS is going to go up. With Corki and Thresh, there is a possibility that they can try and shut him down again in early game, but in doing so you run the risk of Ahri just coming in and destroying, because Kautard plays a very good Ahri on top of Kassadin. So again, it's a very strange situation for Meet Your Makers to be in. What I will say though, Pulse, it's a bit odd to me that before Libic was one of the shot callers with Makata, and now that Makata's not playing, he suddenly isn't. Does that make sense to you, or am I just going crazy here? Surely he'd still be involved in the process.
They're very similar places to shot call from, because junglers will be looking throughout the rest of the map, whereas the top and mid lane have to be centralized on their lanes. The fact that Charu's making calls will probably transition more into the roaming phase, because he can't shot call for jungle invades when he's not jungle invading. He will have to have like 6 screens. Like, it will physically not be possible for him in that role, whereas Naga, he will definitely be able to. So I would say it's a very interesting swap up, but because that combination kind of works for them, I understand where it comes from. I guess it's because he's more involved with the team, or he's been with the team longer, so they want to couple someone with Naga to make those decisions.
Yeah, it's very, very possible. Obviously, the way that team synergy works doesn't normally make sense to anybody else but the team. I mean, that in itself is normally a given. So that could very well be the case. You do see the final picks and big picks, I should say, coming in. At least I done bans there, even though bans were already done ages ago. Gragas and Elise, I believe. So Gragas on Charu, that's going to be very volatile in mid lane against Ahri.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. It's a couple of times we've now seen the Gragas pick up, and Gragas versus Ari, definitely when we'll hit level 6, as you said, very volatile, especially with this being so much counterplay from Charu, and then counterplay with the usage of Spirit Rush. So lots of mind games going in when we hit that stage in the game, but now we're onto the delay, guys, so we'll again jump to a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we'll be in the second game of this Best of 5 series with Copenhagen Wolves and Meet Your Makers. We'll see you soon.
Like a bomb squad.
Hello ladies and gents, welcome back to Chaos TV's live coverage of the EUWChallenger series. I'm going to hold this right here because already we've got some action kicking off. Sugar's been caught out of position, could very well be falling, flashing away. Here comes the Ignite and the auto attack from Thresh. Rengar actually jumping in to claim that kill with the passive. Here comes Youngbuck, he's going to be taken down as well courtesy of Makla. And you talk about an explosive beginning. That's exactly what Meteor Makers needed after that previous whitewash they received at the hands of Copenhagen Wolves. Regardless, this is game number 2. Game 1 went to Copenhagen Wolves, grand finale of the EUWChallenger Series number 13. I met this joined by Pulse, and wowzers, Pulse, already lots of kills.
Not only that, those plays, that mechanical skill from Naga where he flashed into the brush so he could get the gap closer, jumped into another brush, and then gap closed again to pick up the kill. That was exceptional. And this is a complete role reversal. Last game we saw Shook picking up the first kill, and then he picked up the Spirit Stone to clear super quickly. This time, we see Rengar not only picking up a kill, but also an assist. So he has the 5 health potions, the Hunter's Machete, and a longsword. So he's going to be so scary in the early game, actually opting for a more damage route, which I actually really like on Rengar. He needs to get scaling in the jungle, because what makes Rengar so scary is the fact he can assassinate your AD carry or your AP carry literally in an instant with the triple Q kind of trick that you can do with Sword of the Divine if you choose to do it. But that in the early game will be so valuable.
It's very true. If he gets Thrill of the Hunt, level 6, his ultimate, and then just pops out with the Q, suddenly AD carry or AP carry's health bar is going to hit 0, and they are going to die. So let's see if this kitty will have claws later on in this game. Counterard firing out the Orb of Deception, not really landing, and Rengar is starting to pull his way towards bot. Important to mention, we do have the lane switch up. It's going to be Unlimited and Reckless taking top against Kubon, which of course therefore will leave Makla and Libic to face off against Youngbuck.
Indeed, it's interesting that we see Copenhagen Wolves instigating the lane swap up, considering it's Kubon on Rumble in the top lane. Rumble is an exceptional 1 versus 2 laner because of Scrap Shield and his ability to kind of CS at range using Electro Harpoon. So it's a curious pickup, but also means they can aggress into the jungle. Actually, I understand completely now. Having that Rengar with the first blood means they can counter jungle. Rengar actually hasn't jumped into the blue buff on the enemy team. So if Elise reacts very quickly, which I'm sure Shook will, that'll put Naga actually behind in the early game. But he has, however, counter jungled them with the red buff. So we'll see how this works out. I mean, it was kind of a necessity in the beginning anyway. In fact, I'm completely wrong. I just looked at blue buff and it's already been taken. Now, I just saw the minion and got confused. I thought that was Vision.
Yeah, they left one of the minions up there, so it happens, Pulse, don't worry about it. But let's talk about this lane switch up then. Who do you think is going to fare better? I have to mention that is the pool party that we're talking about before, that Young Buck's rocking out on Renekton. But Renekton or Rumble, who does better in the 1 versus 2 lane situation?
Definitely Rumble, because of the aforementioned reasons. In the top lane, he's going to have a very difficult time, because out of any 1 versus 2 lane, Reckless and Unlimited on both Zyra and Caitlyn is one of the most difficult matchups, because they have so much zoning control from not only the trap, but the instant slow from Reckless, and just zoning control from Unlimited, and Reckless has the extra range. In the bot lane, they have all-in potential, but Youngbuck can just wait until it hits their turret, back on off, and then they can't really go for an engagement in the bot lane. However, that does mean that Shock is going to come into the bot lane as well to try and assist. And it's also worth mentioning, Renekton is one of those lanes you can easily pick up a 2 versus 2 kill with.
Yes, for sure. But actually, speaking of Renekton, Shook has came down to help him out. Here comes Naga from the side as the longsword after the recipient of that first kill, and also assist. Actually just darts across and hides in the bush, so I'm not sure if Reckless and Unlimited will realise that Naga is still around, coming out, jumping out of the bush, actually doing a lot of damage, throwing down the Battle Roar as well, doing so much damage to Reckless, forcing out the barrier. A couple of Ignites were exchanged as well. Now Unlimited is in the firing range from that Flame Spit, is taking a lot. Electro Harpoon, first one misses, second one connects, but regardless, Summoner spells are plenty, burn the top.
Yeah, curious Vision Ward coming out, considering Rengar isn't level 6. Had that been in the brush, it would have been to connect the Vision, but it wasn't, so I'm not really sure what Unlimited was shooting for there. However, Naga is a very interesting fact to note if people aren't aware, is that maxing Boulder Strike is actually way more damage than maxing his Q. Because his innate damage and the scaling on Q is so good, there's no real need to max it, because the amount of damage you get per level is actually far less than Boulder. Boulder is actually an incredible amount of damage, so it's very worthwhile to actually go for that. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Chara aggressing onto Counterard. He's actually gone very all in. He auto attacks and wailed him down from not only 50%, but all the way to 0, and he picks up the kill. 1 versus 1.
Yeah, Ari's flash was on cooldown, so it was just a case of waiting for that charm to come back up again and hope that something magical would happen. Not going to be the case, so Santa Gragas crushing in mid and forcing this creep wave towards the tower of Charu, who is still level 5. So, sorry, not Charu, the opposite way around. Kautard, who's still level 5. Charu is 6, so Explosive Cask is up. It's going to be recalling with those 3 Doran's rings.
And this is a complete opposite from not only the first game, but also in how the game has gone. Because we also saw Copenhagen Wolves getting really far ahead. And in fact, the first blood this time going to the opposing jungler. Will we see a repeat of the first game? They definitely have the type of composition that can do so. However, this time, MYM are again running with a composition who have a very good engage. And that is so scary. Last game, however, as we see Renekton takes his hit, actually lands the death sentence as well. Phosphorus Bomb comes across, chunking him down to about 40%. But it's worth mentioning that their engage potential is that much stronger than Copenhagen Wolves, and their picking is really good, to the point where they have to be very careful. They can carry on losing their laning phase, and then roaming phase, they'll also get picked, and they'll also lose fights over objectives.
Yeah, with all the pressure that Naga put at top lane again, actually, Kautard is flashing up red. So this level advantage that Charu is enjoying is really paying out dividends. Charu actually forcing Kautard to go back to spawn once again, so it is just kind of getting to a very dangerous situation for Kautard. He's only a few minions away from the Spirit Rush, where things will become much easier. But Renekton has recalled, leaving Shook by himself at bot lane, and the tower is taking a bit of a pounding.
Yeah, after all the concern about the shot callers and the change up to their lineup, including Naga, I really think he's just proven his worth in this game. Not only those mechanics at level 1, but because we know now that he is their shot caller, including Charu, and at least he will be taking the early shot calling regardless, then Naga is doing an exceptional job. Especially in those early game calls. So we'll see if they can carry on the momentum, and I feel that this is really going to be coming down to momentum for MYM. They're already chunking down the bottom turret, they take it out, Makler aggressing onto Youngbook, Ignite comes down from Livik as well, connects the death sentence from the slice, follows them up after the flash as well, in with Dark Passage, more auto attacks come in to seal the deal, one more auto attack will do it, Ignite comes down onto Livik, Health Pot cancels that, meanwhile on the top lane, Unlimited takes huge hits, Dukes into the brush, he has the gap closer, Shook now comes in, flash over the wolf and equalizer. Now in the mid lane, auto attacks come out from Charu. Doesn't opt to use the explosive cast. In fact, it is on cooldown. He's got another 7 seconds left on that. Ignite is also up. So much action all over the board.
I feel a bit sad for Youngbuck there, because it looked as though that caught the very far right pixel. Mid lane, actually, Kautard is going aggressive on Charu. Flash, sorry, not the flash, the Spirit Rush, and the Ignite as well go down on Santa Gragas. Not quite enough damage to finish that one off. Auto attacks weren't OP. And Kautard does ding up to 7. Forces Gragas away from the tower. Going to be picking up that blue buff, then recalling. But as I was going to say before, that hook like it would just about caught the very outskirts of Youngbuck's hitbox there. And also really nice play. Youngbuck flashed, and as soon as he flashed, Libik activated a death sentence and went straight in after him. So he caught up and managed to slow him down. And another very smart play there is that Makler and Libik got the kill before Renekton hit 6. If Dominus was up and available, they would not have got that kill. But they played it to perfection, and they take him down.
Yeah, exceptional decision making has to be said from Livik, and he's making another play in the mid lane with the play coming in immediately from the flash into the box. Auto attacks come out from Makler, seals another kill onto the mid lane, and Livik proving that he is probably the MVP of this match so far. His mechanics and decision making are just on point. He may not be the shot caller this game, but he's making the plays. Now aggressing onto the dragon, the perfect opportunity to do so. Youngbuck could cause some disruption. He has Dominus. Horse Timer comes in, punctuating that action, gives us a little bit of time to breathe.
Oh man. And this is deja vu from a previous game that we casted where Asian maids were playing, where they got crushed in game number 1, and in game number 2 they came out swinging Pulse. So we have this complete role reversal, where now Meet Your Makers have everything in their side of the court. They've got the first blood, they've got 6-0 scoreline advantage, and looking like they're going to pick up this Drake unless Youngbuck can pull off a 1 versus 3, because no one's even close. The closest person is Shook, and he's on his rates. So this is going to have to be a steal from Youngbuck right here. If he doesn't, they're going to go even further ahead in terms of gold. It's going to be a 3.4k gold advantage in the hands of Meet Your Makers. So it just goes to show that a game can make the world of difference.
Yeah, for sure. Just allowing them to give them a little bit of thought on the first games and just be like, you know what, because they instantly surrendered, they knew the game was lost, it was just a time for them to collect their thoughts. They didn't want to just be ground down and have that kind of demoralizing phase where they have the nexus falling and they can see that, and it's like, you know what, just cut it off right now, cut our losses and run, and then we'll go on to the next game, we'll come back strong. And that's what they're doing so far. 6-0, such a reversal from the first game. And apparently we do have some lags from the team of Copenhagen Wolves, and we have actually seen Reckless with some problems over the last couple of days, also Unlimited as well. So waiting for these guys to get back into the game. We haven't been messaged over Skype, so hopefully we should be in good shape just in a couple of minutes. And in fact, Unlimited already connected, waiting on Reckless.
Indeed we are. As you say, this has happened a few times before in the previous 5 EUWChallenger series, where they've had a few DC problems. They normally do reconnect quickly, however, so fingers crossed. Now Kubon's taken his turn. It's like magical DCs. Forget about magical chairs. Everyone is having a go at it. And now Reckless is reconnected, and now we're just waiting on Kubon. So I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, I feel like we need a certain type of music for this situation, Metas.
Absolutely, yeah.
Musical DCs. Hashtag musical DCs. Make it happen. It will become a thing. But we're waiting on the last player. Where will the DC stop? No one knows.
Oh, there we go.
There we
I'm
go.
waiting for someone else to disconnect now. Kubon's back in. Come on, Chuck, it's your turn. Makler, anyone want to take this opportunity?
Any takers? Any takers?
Doesn't look like it, but we're having no progress in terms of unpausing this here. No one is typing in chat, so again, we are by and large completely clueless alongside you guys watching. Can only hope the game's going to start. Let's have a quick look at some of the items then, Paul, so we do have this lull. I am dead set on this Drake pit, so if Youngbuck tries to make a play when we unpause, I am going to catch this. But regardless, is anything jumping out at you here from the item builds? To me, honestly, not really.
Probably a little bit onto at least Rengar and Gragas, because Gragas has gone for triple Doran's Ring, which is kind of fairly standard for a type of AP mid laner like Charu on Gragas, because he's very much mid game and mid lane orientated. So by having that extra punch in the early mid game is really valuable. Doran's Rings are very efficient. In fact, all the Doran's items are. However, they're not very slot efficient, so you have to end up selling them and therefore losing gold. However, the trade-off in the early game is definitely worth it. One of the reasons why you go, for example, like a red pot or a blue pot is because they're so efficient, but they're just, you know, a timing buff. You have to get them at the right times. And also, on jumping onto Rengar, no pun intended, though if I had thought about it beforehand, it would have been. But the double Doran's Blade, again, is looking towards that early game. It's a lot like where you go with the Doran's Blades with Lee Sin, where you really want to go for that early game. Again, anyone who's just joined us, we're waiting to get back into the action. We do have some problems with players DCing. We're jumping onto a Be Right Back screen purely because if any of the players do decide to look at the stream, they'll be able to see the position of the players, because it has been longer than 3 minutes. So that's why, if anyone's wondering.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Be Right Back screen it is. We still have no indication as to what is happening. No one's speaking on Skype. Nobody is speaking in game. So, maybe we should go ahead and check out the chat and see if anyone has any questions, Pulse, and maybe fill in some dead time that way.
Yeah, for sure. It's also worth mentioning, giveaway on my Twitter, if you want to go ahead and jump over there. I know we have a lot of new viewers, so it's at Impulsible or twitter.com/Impulsible. I believe my producer in the bottom left-hand corner will be putting the link there. If not, upper left-hand corner, the social medias will be rotating. And again, if you want to follow Metas, my co-caster, it is at Metas TV.
Indeed it is. So, checking out the chat right now, is Chaos TV from Netherlands? Yes, the company is. Our producer is also Dutch, and most of the guys at the top of the company are also Dutch. Myself and Pulse, however, do cast for Chaos TV, and we are both from the United Kingdom.
Yep, we are definitely not Dutch. Last time I checked, anyway.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm not. I could be wrong, though.
Good point. Again, well, I would ask for questions, but... we're just seeing a complete spam of pool party skin. However, if you enter the giveaway, you'll have RP to spend on the pool party skins. Full circle.
Oh, this guy is so good. Smooth.
Product placement, man. I'm ready for it. As soon as a company tells me to advertise their stuff on stream, I'm on that. So
you may
on
have
it.
to run that by Bass first, though. Where in the UK are you from? Pulse is from Liverpool, although he does not sound like it, and I am from Newcastle, although I don't really sound like it either. We have been asked if we're ready, and we are going live here, Pulse. So I'm going to keep an eye on Drake, see if Young Buck's going to make some big plays here. It's already below a quarter of its hit points, and nope, Young Buck's not even going to bother. So Free Dragon goes down to Naga, and Meet Your Makers.
Again, picking up another advantage. What we thought might happen is Youngbuck would jump in with Dominus, but because he didn't have Flash as well to get out of dodge, he would have only had Slice and Dice, and against someone like Fresh, who has honestly been perfectly on point with his death sentences, living up to its name, then there was no reason to actually go in and potentially risk his life. So 6-0 right now, and the Drake and the first tower, but that has been evened up by Copenhagen Wolves. We'll see how this game progresses, but MYM have a very good chance of picking up this game based on the fact they have such good engage, such good picking potential, and very good siege.
Well, speaking of which, they're looking to siege down this mid tower right now. Charu throwing in the explosive cask just to get Kautodd low enough. They don't pose much of a threat. They don't try to renegotiate their position, really go all in on Meet Your Makers, especially as both Reckless and Unlimited joined the party. So it doesn't look like they're going to be opting for any team fights just that. Yeah, actually, that being said, Naga and also Kubon are starting to make a move down from top. So suddenly, you've got 8 players in the mid lane, and that is going to be mid tower falling. Young Buck's still at bot lane, and Reckless has gone top, so they could very well try and push for this second tier mid tower. Equalizer going on Shook. It's going to do a bit of damage, and actually, Young Buck's going to be recalling, so this is an interesting play.
Yeah, Wolves play this smart. What they do is they split Caitlyn top and Young Buck bottom, because they still have trading potential, at least in as duelists, and because they pushed so hard down mid lane, if they carried on pushing mid lane, then they would lose top and they would lose bottom. So it was really weighing up whether they want to go that deep underneath a potential tower dive, or they potentially risk, losing those towers. So by Copenhagen Wolves making that play, it forces them to back themselves off. So actually has bought themselves at least a little bit of breathing room. What we expect now from Meet Your Makers is to see some very aggressive wards in the jungle, at least bottom jungle, because they've taken the outer turret. That's very important. So that's our next play from MYM. We should see some counterplay from the support. However, mid lane, Charo puts down the herd onto Kautodd, but great mobility gets him out of dodge.
Yes, Rengar just popped the Thrill of the Hunt as well, so could be going for a tower dive. Nope, just going to push the lane instead. Something that just caught my eye as well, Pulse, is first item pickup on Reckless is Phage. Now, the only item that Phage builds into now, after it was changed from Frozen Mallet, is Triforce. You have to assume that unless Reckless is going to be happy just to have the Phage in his back pocket, we could actually see a Triforce Caitlyn coming out here in this matchup.
Possible, but I most expect Caitlyn just to leave it as a Phage until pretty much the end of the game. There's no real reason for him to go Trinity Force over a standard AD carry item, but the item efficiency and in terms of gold as well, Phage is unbelievably good for an AD carry. So if you pick up Phage in the early game and leave it like that, it's a lot like Brutalizer for someone like Renekton. Pick up the Brutalizer, leave it like that for the rest of the game and you're good to go. It's just useful as an item, not built into anything else. So we're seeing a lot of AD carries do it, and for very good reason. The extra movement speed is exactly what they want. It's almost like a cheaper alternative, at least for early game, to the upgrade for boots, because not only are you getting the passive, but you're also getting health and attack damage. It's literally everything an AD carry would want.
Yeah, that's very true, and Makler does that as well. He builds the Phage before his boot, so definitely hitting the nail on the head there, Pulse. And the passive rage is what you're talking about, with the movement speed increase for 2 seconds, depending on whether it's an auto attack or a CS or champion kill. This tower is taking a lot of damage though. Here comes Libic flashing in and boxing as well. Here's the explosive cask and the equalizer. Unlimited should be falling. That will be a free kill at the end of it. In fact, 2 kills going into the hands of Meet Your Makers, who now move on to 8-0 overall in this matchup. Young Buck needs to be careful. Could be chased down from Naga, who does have the Thrill of the Hunt back up off cooldown. So big kills coming in, big plays, Pulse. Meet Your Makers, a fresh new team for game number 2 here.
And again, Libic, playmaker of the team of Meet Your Makers. The flash outer grassing route into Death Sentence and the box was just absolutely perfect. literally the right time and the right combination of moves. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Youngbook looks to split push. That's his only move right now, but Charu looks to push him off. The only thing he really wants to do is clear the minions. He will just kind of flop away at the Youngbook, but there's no real chance of killing him on such low mana. He just wants to clear out those minions. So stymieing that push and picking up another advantage in the fall of top tower. Dragon in 1 minute, they're just going to recall, get themselves ready for the next engagement and come out swinging.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of gold actually for Meet Your Makers to use. Rengar, 1.6k. Corki wasn't about the same before recalling and took a pickaxe and also a long sword. So again, looking as though it's going to be Triforce into Last Whisper, and why the hell not when you're against Renekton, who you know is going to go Sunfire Cape first. Very smart play from Corki. We saw Makler doing this yesterday as well, and it really did pay out dividends. Came to fruition, and they did end up winning that game. As a result, very comfortably, Pulse.
I think what a lot of AD carry players kind of forget, especially when they look at competitive play, is why aren't they just following the conventional Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer into like Last Whisper? Because AD carries, even though you think of it a lot less than AP carries, don't have like a set item build. It's all about picking your item build to vary depending on how the game is. It's called being situational with your items. So Corki necessarily wouldn't always go for Trinity Force. Sometimes he might go Bloodthirster, sometimes he might go Infinity Edge, depending on what the game needs. He needs the extra movement speed, he needs the extra burst, therefore goes Trinity Force. They're building armor early game, therefore go Last Whisper early. Typically you get it for the third item, but because of this game, he picks it up second.
Well, Drake has respawned. Fully agree with what you just said as an AD carry main myself, but Drake is going down so incredibly fast. No one is even close from Copenhagen Wolves. That'll be the second consecutive totally free dragon in the hands of Meet Your Makers. Interesting item build here from Reckless, not one you see too often. Phage into Avarice Blade. So obviously Static Shiv is around the corner from Reckless right now. Loves to pick that item up on Vayne. Or maybe it's just a declaration of saying, okay, well, we know this game may actually last quite a long time before we're back in it, so I'll just start to get the 3 gold every 10 seconds that Avarice Blade gives me. Explosive Cast comes through the wall, again Unlimited goes very low, and there's just so much presence on the map from Meet Your Makers.
Yeah, I would agree with the latter, saying that he's really looking towards the late game as Zyra flashes up red. There's so much harassment from Charu, just sitting around the corner, laying waste to them behind the turret. And that's why I said they have such good siege, because Charu can do this. He's got the poke, Corki can wail away at the tower, and then they've got Livik for the hard engage if they want it. Box comes out, area denial comes into effect. But that's what I'm saying, they have good counter initiation, they have a good meaty front line, and they have the ability to split them up with Equalizer, and they have poke. They have everything you would necessarily want.
The thing is right now from Copenhagen Wolves, they want to be passive until they all hit 11. Look at how many level 10s they have right now as Coutard goes low. Level 11 you get the second level of your ultimate. So it's going to be a lot more damage all over the place for Copenhagen Wolves, and they're all on the cusp here. So that is going to be another free tower coming in from Meet Your Makers. Unlimited very nearly dying as the explosive cast comes out. Very much ambitious, but why the hell not? It only has under 60-second cooldown, so Charu can just throw them around as much as he wants. Makler's going to clear out that creep wave, and they're going to pull back again with a large stack of gold in their back pocket. 4 of their players with over 1,000 gold to spend.
Yeah, Youngblood finds himself, Makler, however, jumps over the wall with the dice portion of Slice and Dice, but Makler too maneuverable to get really caught by Youngblood, especially with the phase portion of Trinity Force. And it's worth mentioning that, as you said, his ultimate is kind of like a throwaway ultimate, disposable, because it's got such a short cooldown. It isn't the same as like a Lissandra ultimate, which would have like a 2-minute cooldown. He can really just afford to use it whenever, if he thinks he can pick up a kill, if he thinks he wants an initiation. But at the same time, it can still be like a playmaking ultimate, because it does a lot of damage, and its utility as well is almost second to none. And honestly, because we haven't seen all that much of Janna recently, we do see her time to time, but McGragus being exceptionally strong at the moment is one of the main resources of having that disruption from his explosive cask.
Ooh, thrill of the hunt from Naga. They're looking at the kill on Reckless, who actually flashes away. Death Sentence will be landing. Livik is on fire today. Stranglethorns comes in. They may have gone too deep this time. But again, Reckless is forced to burn both summoner spells as a result. Barrier and Flash are both down. Just the Flash from Naga and also Livik were burned. But again, Livik is just catching every single death sentence.
Yeah, Lipic is actually proving himself almost to be like the mad life of Europe at the moment. Like, how many death sentences have we seen him miss? How many plays have we seen him make in this game? It's been absolutely unbelievable. At this point, I'd just like to mention that Rengar also has this thing where you can use a triple Q. If you charge 5 ferocity, click Q, then click ultimate, then wait for the ferocity, then jump in, then go with ferocity bonus, then Q again, then you get 3 usages of your Q extra damage, the empowered version.
Absolutely, which is a lot of damage. Explosive Cask again, Death Sentence living up to its name. You have to feel shook. It's going to repel low, should be okay. In fact, jumping back on to Cubon, so they want to make an engage out of this. Cocoon narrowly misses. Piltover Peacemaker from Reckless. I just got to say, Libic is the Grim Reaper incarnate. The amount of death sentences that he's putting down on opposition members is unbelievable.
I'm sure we can make a highlight reel out of all the plays he's made this game metas. Now in the bot lane, Matha trading off against Youngbuck, and typically you don't really see the AE carry trading off against the Bruiser, who is typically the one who wants to be getting at them in the team fight. But Matha is that far ahead against Youngbuck, he can afford to do so. Looking to take this blue buff away from him. He will be contesting it and dragging it into the brush. He doesn't have the vision, doesn't have a ward on his person, so we're going to try and donate this to Ari, and Matha knows when it's time to run.
Yes, it's always smart just to play safe, even if you are looking very high and mighty with your Triforce and Last Whisper 4-0 scoreline. You don't want to give away that shutdown goal. It's not worth it. And especially against a team of Copenhagen Wolves, they're down but never out. They're that kind of team that if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So Meteor Makers, they have become quite renowned in LCS for getting big advantages and throwing them away, Pulse. So it's a case of, can they finish off Copenhagen Wolves in this game? Still yet to be seen. Everything points to yes.
Yeah, they have very good siege, and at the moment, let's take a look at some of the gold that all these players have in their back pocket. So right now, Meteor Makers pretty much have nothing. They've all got their items, they're all in the right positions. Let's take a look at the items they want to build towards. Gragas doesn't yet have the death cap, and Rengar is pretty much where he wants to be right now. Double Durans, Brutalizer, and Spirit of the Lizard Elder. He's in good shape. Now looking towards Rumble, he's got components more than anything. He's got the hunting guys. Again, he's in good shape. They're probably going to wait until Charu can hit his death cap. That's a huge spike in damage. When they can get that down, or maybe even a level 16, they can win pretty much all team fights until that wears off in its power spike. Until then, we might see them be a little more defensive, but there's no real need to be, because they are that strong.
It's just so impressive to me as well, as another dragon looks to be going the way of the Polish right now. Meteor Makers, of course, the Reckless, even though he's been really up against it, has yet to die and has more CS than Makla. So 212 CS at 22 minutes, even though his team are well and truly backs against the wall kind of territory. Again, it just goes to show how good he is at farming, especially with this Caitlyn. Now all 5 players of Meteor Makers congregating a bot lane. Same could be said of Copenhagen Wolves, and you feel it's just a matter of seconds, Pulse, before something huge kicks off here. The tower only has 868 hit points, I should say, and that's going down very, very quickly. Don't think Copenhagen Wolves want to contest this, and indeed, they will just back on off.
Yeah, they simply can't. I'd like to touch slightly on the item build choice of Reckless right now. He's picked up the static shiv for 2 reasons. Wave clear, because they know they're going to be siege against, and also strength in the mid game if they go for the initiate, as Kaltar definitely looks for it on to the backside of Gragas. Doesn't actually come to fruition, but Reckless's item choices, I definitely like it, because again, wave clear. Again, they need to be able to fight them toe-to-toe in that mid-game, even if they are underneath these turrets. This is a very aggressive play from MYM. Top tower still open. That's the death sentence onto Kalton. Has been locked up by Limited, though. Perfect usage of Grasping Roots. And will keep them alive just for the second. Ultimate comes across. Picks up the kill onto Unlimited right at the edge. And that's a 1-for-0 trade. Gives us so much ability to siege this turret. Miniwave is heading in. But if they go for the tower dive, they've got 2 players at 50% HP and they're a man down.
Oh wow, Charu got style points there. That was a max range explosive cast that picked up the kill. Unlimited is down for 7 seconds. Here comes the Dominus, another death sentence lands. Ignite as well, Youngblock will be falling down at the back line. Shook jumps back in, will be repelling away. Cowtard very nearly dying. It's just every single death sentence that lands It's just basically converting into a kill. And Youngbuck, one of the tankiest members, in fact the tankiest member on Copenhagen Wolves, died in the blink of an eye there, Pulse. Alarm bells must be ringing. They are 10,000 gold behind at 24.5 minutes through the game.
Another issue with Copenhagen Wolves' team composition is again they have decent counter-initiate, but they're too reliant on assassinating people. We saw this in the first game, it worked because they got ahead, but it doesn't work when they're behind, because they can never go for their own initiate. Their counter-initiate is kind of weak, and they have a stay above the curve composition. So it's really hurting them right now. Until they scale up, until they do have the ability for Ari to assassinate someone in an instant, Explosive Cast comes across, drops him so low to about 200 HP. They really can't do anything. And the only real initiation they have is Youngbuck to jump in. Maybe Shook at a push, but he's not quite tanky enough. And by jumping in, you're signing your own death sentence against Libic.
I see what you did there, Pulse.
Oh, you're on the money.
Damage. Indeed. Look at Charu's damage though, is just unbelievable. And as soon as he hits level 16, Explosive Cask is going to be even more painful. Right now, 325 plus 390 damage that is doing. That is going to be decimating. Look at Renekton's build, look at Youngbuck. He's gone Sunfire Cape into Ninja Tabby Boots. No magic resistance at all on his build. Gragas is going to have a field day with Youngbuck here.
Yeah, they're kind of neglecting him because he wasn't doing as well as Corki, because Makler was one of the biggest threats that they could see, including Rengar. At least for the early game, his damage doesn't in any sense of the word scale off, so therefore he went for the extra armor. Makes sense. However, now with Gragas getting really strong, now with Rumble getting really strong, he can't afford not to build Magic Resist.
Especially when you consider that there's a Rumble with an Equalizer that is just going to be tearing through you as well, and it's very difficult to get rid of that when Libic is landing every death sentence and then following it up with a box. So I definitely hope that Youngbuck does eventually get around to building some Magic Resist. As you say though, even if you do that, you got Corki. But you could also mention, Pulse, that Corki's not just going to be doing AD right now. He's got a Triforce, and a lot of his spells do actually go off magic damage.
Yeah, I agree completely, Metas. At least in the early game, until that damage becomes negligible, the Phosphorus Bomb is actually a lot of damage. So is like the Missile Barrage and the rest of it. So it will take a while for that really to scale off anyway. So I completely agree. At least building some Magic Resist would really be helpful for them. They're taking down this Baron and aggressing onto it. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Kaltod takes some hits. Libic clears up that ward. We will see the reaction come in from Shook. He's actually backing off. They're being very tentative about this. Charu explodes Ari. That's one pick for 0. Unbelievable damage. And that pick may translate into the Baron.
No problems for Santa Gragas. All the style in the world, and will just be kind of being a beefy front line for the rest of his team as they take down the Baron Nashor. Is there any conceivable way, Pulse, without the entirety of Meteor Makers being DDoSed and actually leaving the game, where Copenhagen Wolves can bring this game back? It's so one-sided right now.
You know, if we were in the first game, I would have been like, you know what, MYM just need to quit out of the game. This time, I'm saying Copenhagen Wolves, they're not looking good right now, Letters. They've lost the Baron, they've lost so many objectives, they're 5 towers down. We just need to see Meteor Makers be consistent. And honestly, the fact that Copenhagen Wolves are not only behind, but they are behind in terms of the curve, which is so important to their team composition. They really have their work cut out for them. It's also worth mentioning, there are no kills for their team. It's 11-0, so no centralized gold, apart from Reckless, who's been farming all game. He is their saving grace. We're now looking towards Reckless to make that big play. Otherwise, they have no other tools in their arsenal to bring this back.
Yeah, fully agree with what you're saying, and I don't know, it's just going to have to be a case they're going to have to turtle in for 10-15 minutes, I feel, if they're going to have a chance here. Because it's not even a case that the base from Meteor Makers is weak. Only 1 tower has been picked up. They're going to have to go through a bucket full of towers before they even start getting towards inhibitors. And in that case, you know, you are going to have resurrections and respawns coming about thick and fast. Unlimited's been caught again from Libic. Surprise, surprise. Egglite and Equalizer will do the trick. This could actually be the end of it right here. Egglite and a beautiful explosive cast courtesy of Gragas. Here comes Rengar from the side, exploding Ari. And it looks as though this is probably going to be the GG unless something miraculous happens. Rampage for Charu, 4-0 and 6. Renekton will be falling, 6 foot under. That's the first inhib. Will they go for the Nexus Towers or recall? Looks like the former of those two options, and they're going to be going straight for the Nexus here, boss.
Yes, Shook and Reckless, can they put up the stellar defense of the Nexus turrets? One falls, moving on to the next one. They're in decent health. Kubon's fairly low, so is Naga, but the rest of the team is in good shape. Charo tanks him down from the turret. Makla picks up one, and Libic drops so low. Piltover comes across into the Strangleforce, picks up one. Can they go one better? They pick up another, moving on to Kubon. He also falls 3-0 right now. Now turning around, Charo destroys Elise with his cooldowns coming off. And now the double kill comes in for a limited. At least to push them away from their Nexus. But their Nexus is absolutely exposed. Can we see the counter push from Copenhagen Wolves? They only have 30 seconds left in the bank. And it's just not in good shape.
It really isn't. Even though they did manage to push back and get their first 3 kills of the game or thereabouts in that exchange, it's still a drop in the ocean, as I said yesterday, where their Nexus is bare, they've lost at the bottom inhibitor, the middle inhibitor is very much vulnerable, naked, ripe for the taking, and the goal difference is just hemorrhaging out of control. In fact, it's not even out of control, it's been out of control for the last 5 or so minutes. So maybe they will pick up this mid tower, but you know, Pulse, they're going to have to dig in deep here to even have a glimmer of a hope of pulling this game back.
It's a drop in the ocean at this stage, Metters. 1 tower compared to 10 from the team of Meet Your Makers. It's almost nothing. Yes, it's something, but it won't be that big change, that big shift in the tide of battle. So we'll see what Meet Your Makers do right now. They're honestly their best play. They have Baron. They're all itemed up. They should just barrel down mid and just run for the Nexus. Honestly, if they just went in right now and just ignored that middle inhibitor and ignored Youngwood, they could probably just finish the game. They're gonna play it safe. They're gonna pick up the second inhibitor. And what just happened? How do you do that much damage to a single person? Dominating will be Charu as they jump onto the Nexus. This will be Last Chance Saloon, their final fight. Youngblood heads the charge, but he's getting disintegrated. He cannot even connect. Depth Zenton secures the kill onto Ari. Living again on point. Shook gets dropped. In fact, he's looking to repel. Jukes away. Rangor reclaims the kill. That's the GG well played from both of these teams. The next game will come in from Meet Your Makers, bring that to 1-1 in this best of 5 format. Honestly, Metters, what a game.
I'm still laughing at that burst damage from Charu. That's like the kind of present you get from a grandmother or something, you know, like a pair of socks. Just the kind of present you don't want.
They don't usually explode, Metters.
Well, in my case, sometimes, you know, you never know.
Really? Okay.
But Unlimited just got a pair of socks on his face, if you follow that analogy, and got crushed. Was that actually a one-shot with Explosive Cask? I think it may have been.
I want to see it back. I'll actually ask Charu in the break to make sure, but that damage was absurd. I mean, honestly. Anyway, guys, we're going to jump to a quick commercial break as I continue drooling over that play. So when we get back, we'll be in with the third game of this best of 5 with Copenhagen Wolves and Meet Your Makers. And again, guys, jump over to my Twitter where I'm doing a giveaway, and I will be giving away the code today. And I will be announcing that as well. So that's at ImpulseSport or twitter.com/ImpulseSport. I'm also doing giveaways on my Facebook on a later date. That will be seen in the bottom left or the top left of your screen. So until then, we will see you soon.